Hello, this is Ron Brown. I'm going to put together some videos to explain some concepts in HGSI. I know relative strength can be one of those concepts that's a little bit confusing, so I'm going to explain how it's calculated in HGSI and how important it is. Now, in the current market environment, we have seen some tremendous up moves, and these up moves are not necessarily in very high quality stocks if you rely upon earnings and revenue growth. And I'm using Century Aluminum as my example. Now, I have the ranking module open, and I'm using Century Aluminum because it's number 2 on the ranking using what we call IanSlow relative strength. Now, this is named after my partner Ian Woodward, and we've been putting on seminars for years, and Ian got involved with the HGSI a few years before I did, and these are his calculations. The way this works in the ranking module using IanSlow is that 70% of the weighting is on the last 3 months and 30% is on the prior 3 months. Now, I'm going to go to a daily chart. You can see how dramatically it changes when I go from weekly to daily. But the RS rank based upon the ranking module, and I'll put a frame on here. I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3 months. 70% of that weighting is on this period, and then the prior 3 months would be the other 30%. Now, when this number is calculated in HGSI, it's a different calculation. It is based upon a 1-year period if you have 1 year's worth of data available to you, and 40% is on the last 3 months. And let me bring up that frame again. So 40% would be on the last 3 months right here, and then the rest of the year is broken into quarters 20-20-20. But the primary emphasis is on this period right here. So why are there two ranking methods? Well, primarily this ranking method with the 40-20-20-20 is comparable to other relative strength ranking measures available out there, such as IBD. Bar chart has a ranking method, I believe. Several software packages do, but the IanSlow is really not far off, even though or not different, I should say, not that much different, even though the weighting methods are different. So let's look at this. Look at this. On Century Aluminum right now, IanSlow is 99. What do we see on the chart? We see a relative strength of 99. So what we can do is we can use IanSlow as the historical record of how relative strength changes. Now let's take a look at Century Aluminum recently. You can see until January 22nd of this year, and by the way, these are weekly breakdowns, it had a relative strength ranking of 28 on the 22nd, and then it went to yellow on the 29th, and then it jumped up to 97 on 2/5/16. So bringing that chart back up, let's remember those dates. And I'll make this a little bit smaller so we can look at this a little closer. And I'll go back to the 29th would be about right in here, the week of the 29th. And then actually, let me go to a weekly chart. And I'll zoom in on this. I'll just choose my alternate 1 key. And then let's bring up, or I'll bring up the arrow. So the week of the 29th would have been this week here. And you can see that it's moved up from red to yellow. so it's on the move, and then by the next week it was up to 95, and that would be the week of, no, I think I got those wrong. That would be this week. The prior week, 129 would be this arrow right here, but you can see that it has moved up to a 95 from a 65 in that 1 week period, even though it didn't go anywhere, or it doesn't appear to go anywhere. Now, why would that be? It's because this stock is outperforming 95% of the other stocks out of this universe of 2,263 stocks. These are stocks that have to have a minimum of $5 trading 250,000 shares. So the ranking module only looks at stocks that are passing a filter in a folder. I'm in all securities, but I have a filter applied. So during this week, even though it didn't really go anywhere, it was still outperforming 95% of the stocks. So they must have, during that week, must have done very little or even gone down, the rest of these stocks in the database. Well, let's just find out. I'm going to make a group from the list, and you can see there are 2,263 stocks in here. I'll call this RS Weekly Stocks, and I'm going to generate an index. It's generating the index right now. Okay, now there's 64. Now I have to locate that index. I'm just going to type index in here, and here it is. It's the all securities index, and that week of would have been 5 weeks ago. I'm sorry, 4 weeks ago. You can see that stocks in the database were down from the prior week. Let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me go back up to the top here. Okay, this is including today right here. I've got my intraday turned on, so I went and turned it off just to avoid the confusion. So 4 weeks ago, this stock right here, Century Aluminum Company, you can see that even though it didn't go anywhere, it was still stronger than 95% of the other stocks in the database, because that week the All Securities Index went down. Let me just revisit that. Index. Okay, here is that week, counting 4 back. It was down from the prior week, all securities was, but once again, when I go back up to the top of the list and click on Century Aluminum, notice how it held up better than most of the other stocks that are in the database or in this index that I just created. Or in other words, the strength is relative to the rest of the universe that I'm comparing it to. I'm going to bring this chart back up, and I'm going to look at this zoom level. I will open this up, and we're going to talk about this other relative strength rank here, which is was put in to, like I said, compare HGSI's methodology to what else is out there in the universe. They're not going to be the same. We don't know the formulas of the others, but it was an educated guess. And let's just look back at this chart. You can see that this moved up starting back here, clear back in January of 14. Before I talk about this relative strength, let's go to January of 14. And I'll go to my ranking module, and I'll just scroll back to January of 14. I am using a custom date on here so I can go all the way back. Okay, here we go. Here's 12/20 of 13. Here is 12/27 of 13. Here's 1/3 of 14. 1/10 of 14. You can see that this stock has been building momentum, and then by 1/24, the week of 1/24 of 14, it had turned green, and this was its long run to the upside. As I scroll through here, you can see that it lasted to 1/2 of 15. So let's take a look at that year. And that would be from about right here. By the way, you can see an effort to rise VPA signal on the weekly, and look at this run during this time period. Going to approximate this, and that's it. It was green all that time using IanSlow. Now I've gone in and pulled up an HTML dating back to 2014. This would be the 10th of January on 2014, and I'm going to do a Control F, and I'm going to locate CENX, and you can see it is right here. It is right here. Now if you look here, the relative strength number on that date was 76. It wasn't quite to 80, but it was getting there. You can see that accumulation had moved up to B, and that's percent AD was 28.1. It had to get to 40 to get to A accumulation, but this stock was on the move using the 20-20-20-40 methodology of relative strength. Now let's take a look at the following week, and I'll do a Control Find CENX, and it actually stayed in the 70 area, 74. Let's keep doing this. Hopefully I have the next week. Here's the 24 of 2014, and Control F, CENX. May have to type it in again, CENX. And here it is, and notice that it got up to 82, and this is the week of the 24th. So it was gaining momentum, and let's go back here to the now going back to the 24th using IanSlow, you can see that it's green, 93. It went from yellow to green on that date, which pretty much corresponds or coincides with the other ranking methods. My point is, you can use IanSlow to look back in history and get a pretty good feel for what the relative strength is, the shifting of relative strength in and out. Now I'm going to bring that HTML up again. And here it is. You can see it's an 82 based upon these calculations, but the point is it's green, and this is a 92. But this will give you a very good visual feel for stocks going back in time. And here's the way I set this up. I'm using a custom period, and I loaded at 1/1/97 through 3/4/2016, which is last Friday's close, using IanSlow. So why am I spending so much time on this? What I want to do is show you how responsive Either methodology is to, well, what is happening. Now, here we are currently at 97, and this has made a tremendous move. Let's go to the daily chart, and you can get a feel for this. So why have we gone from a, well, let's see, what is this? This is 114, 2016. Let me go back to the ranking module. And actually I need to recalculate that. And I'm recalculating because I closed it before. It didn't include all the stocks. So anyway, here we are at the first of the year. You can see it's all red, turns yellow on the 29th, and on the between this week and this week it goes from 65 to 95, and that is the week of February 5th. So on February 5th, there is 2-4. There is Friday of 2-5. It's moved up from here to here, and it has gone from yellow to green using IanSlow. Now here is CENX, the week of 2-5, using the standard comparison. I'm saying standard because that's what most of the what we're comparing to other types of ranking. It's only 11. So let me go to the following week and let's see what we can come up with here. And to do that, I have to go into here. That's 205. So here's 212. Control F, CENX, and it still hasn't really responded. It's only 16 here. So you can see that IanSlow, due to its calculations, is faster in the short term. Over the longer term, there really isn't that big a difference. Now remember, most of these other publications and softwares also calculate similarly to this, so the relative strength is slow coming compared to IanSlow. That's why we use IanSlow for top down. Now let me do one more of these. I'm going to go to 219. I'm going to do a control find and type in CENX. And you can see that suddenly it has jumped all the way to 92. So let's take a look at that chart, and this is the week of the 19th. And I'm going to go back to a weekly chart. And here it is right here on the weekly chart. On that same weekly candle, right here, you can see that there is an effort to rise. There was a no supply, a sign of strength the prior week, but on this week it's starting to move. And the relative strength has moved up to 92. Now you still may be wondering why a stock that is this beaten down from its high can have a relative strength of 99 based upon the 40-20-20-20 method. Well, it's because remember that 40% is on the last 3 months, and if you look up here, you'll see that over a 3-month period, this stock has risen 117%. Over 12 months, it's still down 49.8%. The point I'm making is that both relative strength methods work. IanSlow is actually more responsive, though, because of the time period. We're using a 6-month period with 70% of the emphasis on the last 3 months. On the other, we're using a year, and the weighting is spread out to 20-20-20. But notice that the 20-20-20, even though the stock's down 49.8% over that time period, over the last 3 months it's up 117. So consequently, this is responding, this number here is responding primarily to the last 3 months, but over the prior 3 months, it was basing here, or building a cause, you might say, using Wyckofian terms. Now, I don't want to get hung up on the methodology, but I just think that people that use HGSI need to know the difference. Now let's go back. I'm going to go back to that ranking module, and I'm going to, I don't need the long-term dates anymore, so I'm just going to do 2 years and recalculate this quickly. But what I want to do is I want to open this chart again, and the industry group is base metals. And this time I'm going to just go directly to the industry groups. If you close everything and just click on ranking module, it takes you directly to the industry groups. Now let's find the base metals group. The easiest way to do that is to hit your space bar. I'm going to type in base, and it takes me down here to number 11. Currently this is as of last Friday's close. Now notice that 4 weeks ago on 2/15 it was only 64 as a group. I can see where it stood on that day by clicking on the date up here at the top. It's all the way down at number 62. So as a group, it is not showing up yet as one of the leading groups. If I right mouse click down into the base metal group, change to the industry group, notice that Century Aluminum is at the top of the list. This was the leading stock in the group. Now what I'm doing is I'm just comparing stocks in this folder right here, but CENX clearly is emerging as the leader, and here it is on 2.5. Now you can find these stocks. You have to do some searching though. Let's do this. I want to try this. I'm doing this on the fly. This is CENX. We're going to go to a new feature. In here I'm going to type in CENX, and I'll just go to all securities, and I'll click over here to search the groups for a stock, CENX. And what it's doing is going into the database, and it's looking for instances of where CENX appeared. Now I'm mostly interested in going down here to my user groups. I keep these groups every day, and notice that CENX was appearing in stocks and groups moving to the upside throughout January, throughout February, in the $1 to $15 range. And so this is where a lot of stocks that are beginning to show, or beginning to gain relative strength, show up. Look at all these instances of CENX showing up. Here it is right here, and that is 2/3. We were talking about the date of 2/4. So let's bring it up. Go to a daily chart, and 2/3 is right here, but it was showing up most of January in the stocks and groups moving to the upside. That's where you really need to keep an eye, what group you need to keep an eye on to catch a lot of these early movers. Let me go back to the designer, and it started appearing on the 4th of January, and then I've said it was most of January. Well, that's not true. It appeared on the 4th and then disappeared until the 26th. So let's use the 26th of January. Okay, so the 20th. Well, you can see it was right there is where it started reappearing again, and look what was happening with the group. It formed a higher low right there. Let me do that again. It went from this low. I'm on the stock. Here's the group. This low to this point formed a higher high at this point, the group did, and that was about the same time it was signaling or appearing in stocks and groups moving up. And since that time, if I do an alternate A and move from here to the close on Friday, over that time period it gained 137.2% over 27 periods. tremendous move. To summarize this, relative strength is very important. There are multiple ways you can measure it in HGSI, but as you can see, and I did this on the fly, I didn't know where this stock would show up in those stocks and groups moving up, but it showed up clear back here. That is why I look at those groups every day. You have to pay attention. It's some work. You're not just going to automatically create a list of stocks, but I'm working on some things that I will be sharing with you ultimately, and let me just go into this very quickly. This video is getting too long. I'm going to call it, these are not available yet, Ron Prospecting. No, I'm sorry, that's one I was working on, and then I moved it up here to the Prospecting Group Scans. I'm going to do bullish and bearish group scans. This one is stocks and groups moving up with the flag sentiment of bullish. So what this is doing, it's going down into the filter, and it's looking at the smart groups moving up, both the regular smart group and those between $1 and $15. I'm looking for bullish flag sentiment. Last close $2, trading 100,000 shares. And this is where you're going to find a lot of stocks that are beginning to move up. And I'm using that new feature that Matt put in to go to specific groups. And those smart groups are updated every day. So this is going to be very helpful. Now let me bring that chart up one more time. Now in this instance, the group that I just showed you, it had to have bullish sentiment, and it probably would not have appeared here until this effort to rise showed up with second day of pocket pivots. But I think we could live with that if we had discovered this. And let's do the alternate A one more time and go from here to the close on Friday, and during that time period it was up 109%. So I'm certainly working on things to make life easier for HGSI users. I know that this is confusing to a lot of you, but I think I'm just really with Matt's new additions and George's new additions, I really think I'm starting to harness the power of this program. And thank you for listening. There will be more of these along the way explaining exactly what we can do with HGSI and what certain modules are for.